we are happy, or the syllabus is framed in such a way that we are expected simply to discharge some of the skills. Okay, so this is a major contrast. But I would like to ask you one question. Though much emphasis has been laid on these skills, communication skills, soft skills, employability skills, and many other skills are there, right? LS or W. Though much fuss is made about all these skills, are the students coming out of the colleges today well versed in all these skills? Okay, just make a comparison between. I'm not belittling anybody. I don't want to make any judgment of the present generation. They are all capable. They are good. But I would like you to introspect the kind of syllabus that we are teaching, the kind of teaching that we are doing in our classroom. Just okay, it's only for our introspection. It is not judgment. So those people who were graduated before the 80s, whatever their major subject was, they were all good at English. They were all good at soft skills. Okay, they did not know, they were not aware of the term soft skills, but they were good at soft skills. They had all the necessary skills. But now, though much emphasis is on laid on all these skills, I think we are missing somewhere. Okay, so that is the point I would like to address. Okay, well, in spite of concentrated efforts on teaching various skills or specific skills that we believe that will make the students ready for employability, in spite of our concentrated efforts on soft skills, employability skills, miserably our students fail in those skills. Of course, they pass the examination. Okay, they are scoring good marks by writing the examination, by writing the answers, but they fail to learn the skills. Okay, they have the knowledge, but they fail to learn the skills, or we are doing something which do not prepare them for the life. Okay, we prepare them for some specific job. So this is, I believe, a great disadvantage. So this is a paradoxical situation. On the one hand, we are surrounded by gadgets. Okay, we are equipped with technology. Okay, we are supported by the rise of artificial intelligence. In spite of the growth of technology, uh, the teaching is not successful. So what's the reason? So this is what I would like to concentrate or introspect for about half an hour. The first thing that I would like to ascribe to this is the lack of context. Okay. I would like to ask you a question, a general question. How many of you are still conversant with literature? I understand that all of you are English teachers. And your teaching requires you to teach something, communication skills or soft skills or something like that. Of course, teachers in engineering and polytechnic colleges, they are just made to teach only language skills. But as an individual, as a student of literature or as a lover of literature, are you still conversant with literature? So if you are still conversant with literature, I think you can understand that literature provides us with um, very, very appropriate contexts in which all these skills can be easily and effectively inculcated in the young minds. So that's the first point I would like to make. So, of course, it's not only with us, it's not within our control. The entire syllabus has to be changed, and we are not the designers of the syllabus. Syllabus is designed by somebody else. But in spite of that, we can make some attempts in our classrooms to introduce literature and to introduce language and other skills through literary context, because literature provides us with authentic and appropriate context in which the skills which are essential for all walks of life can effectively passed on to our students. This is the first point. For this, I would like to use one model. Uh, can someone help me to mm, go to the slide number 5, where I have introduced a model? If time permits, we'll come back to the first early slides. So this is what I would like to discuss. So this model helps us understand how language is not simply a means of communication. So we have reduced language to a mere means of communication. When we are asked to define language, we simply call it as a means of communication. But language is not simply a means of communication. Of course, it helps us communicate, but it's more than that. It is through language that we express our personality. Language is one's personality. When you understand others, when you think of others, when you perceive others, you perceive somebody only in terms of the language they speak. So it's through language that we understand people. By understand, I means it's through language we get connected with people. It's through language that we uh, get we make others impressed. So language is not simply a tool of communication, but unfortunately, today we have developed an attitude about language, that language is a means of communication, and as limited knowledge, okay, a minimal knowledge of grammar and other conventions of language will help us communicate. So we all that we aim at is a tolerable language or a fair amount of communication skills. But what we fail to realize is that language is one's personality, and language teachers were considered great. Language teachers were celebrated in the past because not only because they possessed language, but because they possessed a great personality. Because we identified the language teachers with the great heroes, because language is personality. So this model, okay, this is a communication model. Most of you would be familiar with this model, but I don't know whether you have looked at this model from this point of view. Will help us uh, look at language from different perspectives. So we will have a different view of language. Okay, Jakobson, a Russian formalist, has come out with this model to highlight how language performs different functions simultaneously, at least 6 functions simultaneously. And some of the functions you might know. So for a language, for communication to take place, we need at least 6 components. Okay, this is just a model. Don't give too much of importance to the model, but what we get out of the model is more important. What the fact that we understand from the model is more important than the model itself. So for any communication to take place, we need at least 6 components, and they are listed there: addresser, the speaker; addressee, the listener; and we need a context. The context determines everything. Okay, the context is uh, the place or the time or the topic which fixes what should be spoken and whom it should be spoken. So the context is very important. And we need a contact. It refers to both the physical as well as psychological contact. That must be a contact, right? And code. Code means how we uh, understand or how we get the message from the addresser, or how the message is communicated between the addresser and the addressee. It might be language, or it might be signals, or it might be bodily expressions, non-verbal communication. So all these are codes. So we are familiar with the codes. We know how to interpret the codes, and because we are so familiar with them, without any hesitation, we instantly decode everything that is communicated to us. So we take it for granted, and ultimately that must be a message, okay, between the addressee and the addressee, that something must be communicated. So message should be taken in the um, technical sense, not in the literal sense. Message here does not mean information. Message means anything that is exchanged between the addressee and the addressee is the message. Okay, so these are the six components. Okay, and give importance to context and context, contact, and code. So all the other three are familiar. We know that communication requires an addresser. We know communication requires an addressee, and we also know that communication requires a message to be communicated between them. But I think sometimes we tend to forget context, contact, and code. So whatever we speak must be relevant to the context. Whatever we communicate must be relevant to the context. However good we are in communication, however beautiful our language is, unless what we speak is relevant to the context, what is communicated, okay, is it goes waste. So we have to see to it that we are relevant to the context. So just connect this point with what I was telling earlier. We are teaching grammar. We are teaching the conventions of language. We are teaching them some skills like soft skills, but we are teaching the skills in isolation without making them relevant to the context. We don't introduce them in the proper context. Okay, we just give them some formulas. Okay, for grammar, we just give them some ideas about soft skills. We just give them some information regarding employability skills, how to write a resume, how to, okay, behave in an interview. So these are all things which we tell them, but not in the context. Okay, we just teach, we just give them as knowledge. So when does knowledge become skill? Knowledge, when it is applied, when it is experienced, it becomes skill. When knowledge is received simply by the brain and mind, it is mere knowledge. Okay, I know the convention of language, I know the grammar, but when I come to write, when I come to speak, I make mistakes, I commit mistakes because though I know the conventions of language, I fail to apply in practical situation. I cannot apply them in situation. I know them. Okay, as knowledge I have gained them from my teacher. When you ask me, uh, what is the formula for present continuous tense, I will write, okay, perfectly, and I will get 2 marks. I will get pass. But when I'm expected to speak a sentence that requires the usage of present continuous tense, I do not, I may not, because there is a gulf of difference between what I have learned as knowledge and what I practice, and this has led to the kind of deterioration or decline that we come across nowadays. So this is my point. Okay, so anything that is taught in the context, okay, in the practical situation, and students, there are many advantages. First thing, teaching becomes interesting, teaching becomes effective, and uh, teaching becomes also permanent. Okay, what the students learn, they stay with us, they stay with the students. Okay, they don't forget because they have learned it practically, they have learned it in the context. So that's why context is always important. And in our traditional classrooms, we had a literature, we had a literary text, even in part 2 classes, in language classes. Okay, even when the teachers used to teach grammar, they used to teach the language only through literature. So literature provided us with the context and what we have learned is permanent with us. Okay, so the skills become efficient and effective when they are learned in the appropriate context. So what can we do? Okay, because the syllabus is not with us, the syllabus designing is not with us. Somebody designs this. I don't blame anybody. Somebody designs the syllabus, and we are simply expected to teach the syllabus, or we sometimes they say we are expected to cover the syllabus within the stipulated time. And where is the room? Where is the time? Where is the scope for the contextual teaching, you might ask. That's why I asked the question, how many of you are conversant with literature? Okay, so the prescribed syllabus may not have literary context or literary texts, literary material, but from your experience, okay, from your personal reading, you can bring in, okay, some literary context appropriate to the occasion, and you can make your teaching interesting. You can make your teaching effective, and you can also make the teaching lasting forever. So try to teach whatever you teach in the context, and resort liberally to literature or literary context. This is one thing. So when I say literature, it's not simply the classical literary works that we have studied or read. We can also refer to newspaper clippings. We can also refer to some anecdotes, either fictitious or real, or we can also refer to some of the contemporary events. So the most important thing that the language teacher is expected to do is he has to be familiar with the developments that are taking place around them. Uh, you have to connect what you teach with the real life. Okay, for which literature is only one source. But it is not the only source, and there are other sources. Okay, and you have to liberally depend on them. So only an alert teacher, okay, a teacher who is passionate about teaching, a teacher who wants to make teaching uh, not simply an occupation or a profession, but a way of life, can do this. Okay, so be in the swim. Okay, to be very precise, be in the swim. Be familiar with the developments that are taking place around us. Okay, try to relate what you teach to the real life situation. Make the students feel that they are not learning a set of knowledge. On the other hand, they are learning some skills which are essential and which are useful to them, not only for employment, but also for all walks of life. Okay, so when you make the students feel that they are learning something important and essential for their life, definitely language teachers will be respected. That's language teachers are not simply teaching them language. Language teachers are shaping the personality of the students, because we are preparing them not for one particular specific job. We are preparing them for life. They are prepared to face any situation in life. It might look an exaggeration, but if you practice and if you experience the benefit of, okay, this kind of teaching, maybe you'll be able to understand the significance. Okay, this is one point, context. Okay, now there is another contact. Okay, is there? Okay, by okay, contact can be taken in two senses. One in the physical sense, that is the physical contact. Okay, we need to look at each other. We must be audible to the others. That means the physical contact. But there is also a psychological contact. The psychological contact is more important than the physical contact. Um, I'm not sure whether we understand or whether we empathize with our students when we teach in our classroom. Because sometimes we are very mechanical or we are quite practical We have prepared something and we aim at completing what we have prepared within the hour without seldom realizing mm, how the students receive, how the students react. Okay, so you often we must be uh, checking whether they are in touch with us, whether they are okay with us in the classroom, whether they are receptive, whether they are able to understand. So other teachers may fail, okay, in establishing and maintaining the psychological contact, but as language teachers, we have to maintain, we have to establish and maintain the psychological contact. But nowadays, when we teach grammar, sometimes they become tense. Okay, on even the very idea of grammar makes them uh, feel frustrated or makes them feel very uncomfortable. Because the contact, okay, is missing. The psychological contact is missing. We need to prepare our students uh, for uh, uh, for what we are going to teach in such a way that even the difficult things can be handled very easily. So establishing and maintaining contact. That's what he means by fatigue communication. We will come back to it later. And the code. Okay, this is also very important. Literature is different from the other branches of knowledge in the sense that literature uses a different code. Literary texts or literary authors use different code. For example, in science or in history, uh, the text means only one sense to everybody. Okay, it has no interpretations. So whatever, whoever be the reader is, uh, the language is interpreted in only one way. Okay, because no code is involved there. Okay, it means directly and it denotes, okay, the language of science, the language of history, and the language of other branches of knowledge. They are not interpretative. They are, okay, very straightforward, and they mean what they mean. But when it comes to literature, when it comes to art, especially when it comes to literature, language is charged with a number of possibilities. Language is charged with a number of meanings. The same text means different things to different people. Interpretations are possible. The same text or the same sentence or the same passage means differently to different people because in language of literature, in language of art, interpretation is there. Interpretation is possible. So there comes the importance of code, how we look at language, okay, how we interpret it, okay, what meaning do we make out of it? Okay, the meaning is not given by the author. In science, in history, the meaning is determined by the author. The meaning is given by the author. Okay, we are not expected to change it. We are simply receiving the meaning as given by the speaker or as given by the writer. But in literature, we talk about the death of the author. The author is no longer there, and we become the author. We interpret the text according to our ability, according to our perception, according to okay, our point of view. So interpretation is possible, and as students or as teachers of language, our duty and our pleasant duty must also be to make the students understand the code. Okay, they have to they must develop the art of interpretation. Okay, this also helps them. This helps them learn life in a better way. This helps them read people. This helps them read texts in different ways. This helps them understand life in different dimensions. So, language teaching is not simply teaching the rules of language and vocabulary and some other skills, okay, which are helpful to communicate. Language literature is very essential. By literature, I don't simply mean the classical works of art. I mean anything that is related to life, anything that makes the point relevant, anything that adds interest to the point that we teach becomes literature. It might be an anecdote, it might be a short story, it might be a poem, it might be a news story, it might be a radio talk, or it might be anything that we come across in our lives. The thing is, we must be able to relate it to the context. So don't simply end up as teachers of some reduced skills. Okay, teach them, okay, the vast, or introduce your students to the vast world of language. Okay, so language has such a huge potential. Okay, it expresses one's personality. It okay, it defines one, how he can behave in such a in a appropriate situation. It also helps people understand each other. So language has okay, a wider possibility, a better possibility, and a broader possibility. But reducing language to a mere means of communication is a great injustice that is ever done to language. So I just take this opportunity to appeal to all my fellow teachers to take note of this. So expand the horizon of the young minds, okay, by enriching them with language. So this is the first point. Now, there are several functions of language, okay, that we must familiarize ourselves with, because if we familiarize ourselves with these functions, then we can also help our students learn. So the first one is emotive function. Okay, you can find the 6 functions of the language, okay, written below the components of language. We have emotive function, referential, conative, poetic, phatic, metalingual functions of language. Okay, by emotive function, we mean we use language to express ourselves. Okay, language can perform 6 functions. Okay, and it can perform emotive function too. When you are using language for emotive function, it means that you are using language just to express yourself. Okay, you just give vent to your feelings. Okay, you do not know who your author is, sorry, who your audience is. You do not know how they react to your message. All that you want to know, all that you want to do is to express yourself. This is emotive function of language. And on the other hand, we have find the conative function of language, which is just the opposite of emotive function of language, which means your sole intention is to impress the audience. Okay, so we use the same language to express ourselves without minding how it is received by the audience. We use the same language to impress the audience. Here, you eclipse yourself. You hide yourself, and you give priority to the audience, you give priority to your viewers, and all that you want to do is you have to impress them. So they are just opposite to each other. Same language, okay, when used differently, can perform 2 opposite functions. It can be used emotively, and it can also be used connectively. To give an example, emotive. All great literary writers, especially poets, especially romantic poets, are all emotive. Okay, they never mind how they will be read, how they will be criticized, how they will be judged. But the popular saying, spontaneous overflow. Okay, uh, they never uh, have in their mind the readers or the audience. Okay, they just express themselves that moment. Okay, whether it is received by the audience, whether it is okay, liked by them, they don't mind. I would like to give an anecdote here about John Keats, who wrote the famous and the immortal ode to the Nightingale, okay, which was written by him, and he never intended it for publication. Okay, He happened to sit in the garden of his friend's house, and he listened to the song of the nightingale, and emotions came, and he just expressed okay, his emotions in the form of a poem, and he just folded the papers and he kept it under the books in the library of his friend, or in the bookshelf of his friend. He never, okay, intended it for publication. He never told his friend that he has written something, but his friend, after several months, he happened to discover the folded papers, and he um, okay, discovered the papers, okay, kept by the poet John Keats, and he brought it out, and it was published later. So the intention of Keats was not to publish the poem. His intention was not to be appreciated for his poetry. All that he wanted was to give, okay, vent to his emotion. He did it. Okay, this is an example for emotive. And we have cognitive, the sole focus is on the audience. Okay, whatever you do, the audience should get impressed. Advertisements use cognitive uh, function of the language. They exploit the cognitive function of language. Even politicians, okay, uh, during the political rally, they give promises. Okay, they make many ambitious statements. They're all connected. Okay, the soul, it's not relevant to the context. Understand? Okay, it is not expressive of emotions. When you express your emotions, you are very sincere. You don't exaggerate. You are very sincere. But when you are connective, you are, okay, you are exaggerating. You are making unrealistic statements, and all that you want to do is to impress the audience. Okay, so then referential function, this is used mostly in science and history, where the addressor is not important, the addressee is not important, the context is important. Whether what you say is relevant to the context, that is important. Okay, if it is relevant to the context, who says no, 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 not okay, it is not that important. To whom it is said, it's not important. But what is said is important. That is referential function of language. For example, when we study a piece of literature, for example, when we study a poem, before we read the poem, we would like to know about the author, who writes the poem, because it is emotive. We know that it is emotive. So without relating it to the poet, without relating it to the background of the poet, without relating it to the biography of the poet, we cannot understand the poem. Okay, only then we come to the context. But in science, we seldom are interested in knowing about the scientist, okay, and the audience. All that we focus on is the context. If it is relevant to the context, if it is verifiable, if it is provable, it is accepted. Who says is not important. What is said is important. That is contextual. Or even when we write thesis, for example, okay, when we write PhD dissertation, we might conduct research on poetry. We might conduct research on creative writing. Okay, that is using emotive function. But when it comes to research, we have to be referential. We have to use only the referential function of language. We cannot be emotive. Okay, in thesis writing, we cannot be cognitive. We should not make exaggerated statements. We should not, okay, make false promises. Okay, we should not use any data which is not supported with evidence. All that we employ, all that we use in our thesis must be relevant to the context. Okay, that is referential. Then comes fatigue. This is what we already discussed. That is how we maintain contact, especially psychological contact with our students or even with our neighbors. Okay, sometimes we exchange with our neighbors, we exchange with our um, family members, we exchange with our colleagues, which are not worth sharing, but they are necessary in the sense that they help us maintain a good, cordial relationship. So, language is not only to exchange ideas, language is not only to communicate. Language is also to maintain relationship. Language is also to establish and maintain relationship, for which also we need to, for example, we say good morning, we greet people on important days, on the eve of festivals. Okay, they don't carry any message, but they are necessary in the sense that they sustain the relationship that we enjoy with our neighbors, friends, and colleagues. Okay, so language is also for relationship. And metalingual, that is interpretation. So this is very important, as we are all lovers of literature. We need to interpret. We have to interpret. Almost every day, a new criticism or new interpretation of Shakespeare is coming out. For one text, we have multiple interpretations because we have different viewpoints. We have different interpretations. So code, how you look at it, how you decode it, how you interpret it is important. Okay. Then comes the last one is the poetic function. Sometimes the message, without relating it to the addressor, without relating it to any other component, context, addressee, contact, or code, sometimes we appreciate the message just for the message itself. Okay. We sometimes appreciate the message because of the author. We appreciate the message because it reaches the audience. We appreciate the message because it is relevant to the context. So these are all the other functions of language. Sometimes we appreciate a language just because it's beautiful in itself. Okay, we call it poetic. So all that I would like to drive home is language is not merely a tool for communication. It's not simply a means for communication. Language is one's personality. It's through your language you are understood by others. It's through your language that you are judged and respected by others. So let us make our students use language as a potential weapon with which they can rule the world. Okay, don't make them understand that language is a simple tool. So for this, we need to inculcate skills rather than knowledge. So let us not simply teach them knowledge. Let us try to inculcate the skills. Let us try to relate our knowledge to the context, and let us make our teaching effective, interesting, and everlasting. Okay, so there are some other slides which the organizers will share with you. Okay, I have just made an effort to distinguish between skills and knowledge. Okay, on the one hand you find knowledge, on the other hand is skills. I don't undermine the importance of knowledge. Knowledge is essential, but more than knowledge, skills are very necessary. Skills are more important. Okay, knowledge is passive. Okay, knowledge is passive, whereas the skills are productive. So I have tried to distinguish between knowledge and skills. They are available in the other skills, other slides. So uh, make let us make or let us try to revive the glory of language teaching. Language teaching is personality teaching. Language teaching is teaching life skills. So with this, I think I can call it a day. And I would like to stand for a while to address your questions, if any, or to receive your feedback and comments. So you are welcome to offer your feedback. You're also requested to come with your questions. So thank you. So I was happy that I addressed you on the very first day of the FDP. I hope that the 1 week FDP will throw lights on the different aspects of English language teaching in the contemporary context. I wish you all the best. I wish you have a very wonderful week ahead. Thank you. I also take this opportunity to thank my student, Dr. Archaka, and other organizers for having roped me in this program. Thank you very much. Hope to meet you again somewhere sometimes.
Thank you very much, sir. Do you have any questions you
Yes.
can pose to sir? The other 10 minutes, we can have some interactive session where you can pose some questions to our respected professor. You can unmute yourself and you can ask questions to him.
Dear participant, if you have any question, just post the question in the chat box. That will be discussed here.
Somebody has raised hands. She wants to be unmuted, I think.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
This is Gopinath from Madurai. Uh, we live in an age where interdisciplinary is the order of the day. Then how come we enjoy literature, sir? Because literature, we know that gone are the days when teachers would teach literature with great effort. But today, literature can be looked into various compartmentalized. Can you throw some light on that? I don't know how to go about my question, sir.
I think you are talking about literary research, right? That is that has become interdisciplinary, I understand. But in language classrooms, okay, we can use some classical text. Need not be English. Okay, it can be from film song, right? Can be from Tamil literature. It can be from any literature. It can be even a short story that you have read in a magazine. Okay, that's why the meaning of the word literature has broadened. Okay, it is no longer mm, it no longer denotes a set of texts that are published by authors. Okay, anything that is relevant to life, anything that makes life interesting is literature. Okay, so I do agree with you that literary research has become interdisciplinary, and the contemporary texts are highly interdisciplinary. For example, the contemporary novels deal with climate crisis, deal with environmental crisis, deal with a number of other socio-political issues. I do understand with you. I do agree with you. But when we teach language, as when we teach them without a proper context, we fail miserably. Of course, we teach them, we give them some knowledge, but they are not able to convert the knowledge into practical, uh, okay, idea. They cannot use it in practical situation. So to make this possible, I think we can use context. Okay, so nowadays we find books on communication skills where we have a number of vocabulary items, we have some grammatical rules. Okay, so this makes language very dry. Okay, so literature can be used as a context.
So to add on my point, I have another question, sir. Now I am reading autobiography, sir. What are the effective skills that I learned from autobiography?
I think that depends, right? Okay, you cannot expect me to comment on it. Okay, I can get something from the book I read, which you need not get. Okay, in reading, especially in literature
Thank you,
reading,
sir.
we cannot compare
Is there
ourselves with
someone else,
others.
Miss Kavita? Can you unmute yourself and ask the question? Kavita, ma'am. Shall we go for Karina Chapuch, Jasmine? Is there someone who likes to pose questions to Dr. S. Karthik sir? Please kindly unmute yourself before asking questions. Kavita, ma'am.
So,
Even
Karthik
you
sir,
can
good
put
evening,
it.
sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation, sir. We enjoyed a lot through your session. And so, I have a query, sir. Can I ask you, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Please tell me, sir, how can we interconnect literature with our English language?
I think I was telling that only, right? But anyway, see, I don't know what you teach actually. For example, we teach soft skills, for example. Okay, we have some definitions for soft skills. Okay, we define facial expression, we define posture, we define gestures. Okay, we are all defining them. We give them definitions. Okay, are the students able to experience it? They have it as a knowledge. They have it as a hearsay. Do they have the experience of feeling it? Do they have the experience of understanding it? Okay, there are many poems in which, for example, like instantly I remember one poem by also Inca, Telephone Conversation. Okay, you need not teach the entire poem. You can, for example, he says, I hate a wasted journey. That's how the poem begins. Okay, so there are several, I cannot rest from travel, one of the poets says. Okay, Keats himself says, my heart aches. Okay, so these are all expressions in which you have to exploit the body language. Okay, without exploiting the body language, you cannot teach. So I don't want you to teach the entire poem. I don't want to convert language classes into literature classes, but you can liberally borrow from literature or context. Okay, appropriate context, which actually in our days, even for part 2, literary texts were prescribed. I do remember that Shakespeare's Julius Caesar was prescribed not for the major core paper, but for the part 2 English paper. So the teachers taught only the play, Shakespearean play, Julius Caesar. But at the end of the class, okay, the other skills were also unconsciously transferred to the students, apart from literature. Okay, several other skills. Okay, because literature comprises all these skills. Okay, well, a good work of art helps you master many skills simultaneously. It gives you language, it gives you soft skills, it gives you communication skills, it gives you vocabulary. The two, you cannot forget those words that you read, you learn in a context. When you learn a word in isolation, for a while you will remember the word. But when you learn the word in the proper context, you cannot forget its usage, and you will tend to exploit the resource of the word. Okay, that only then we become creative. So all these are all the additional advantages of using literature as the context for our language classes. So this is very easy to tell, but you have to practice it, and I think you can do it. You will yourself will enjoy how it transforms your teaching and how it transforms the learning on the part of the students.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Do you want to ask questions? Lakshmi,
Yes.
you can ask
Good
questions
evening.
now.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
I am very happy to attend this session, sir, because I'm one of your students, sir. Now I am working in Dharmapuram Yanambi College, Mailaduvai, sir.
Nice to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have one question, sir. Nowadays, the students are not interested in literature. Instead, they have the interest on language and communication, sir. It's the very, what I say, sir, it's a sad situation. They are not ready to have their intention in that literature, sir. Is there any solution to give them to get rid of that things?
I'm not here to pass any judgment on anybody. It's very easy to blame anybody. Okay, but at the same time, we have to understand the practical reality. Okay, we have to come to
Okay,
terms with the reality.
okay,
So
sir.
they are surrounded by gadgets. Okay,
Yes, sir.
they want everything instantly.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
everything is available to them very easily without any effort.
Of
Okay, reading
course.
becomes very boring nowadays because they
Yes,
don't have the passion to read. But
yes,
overcoming all these challenges, we have to be there. Okay, so we have to make our efforts. We should not worry. We should not ask whether it would be possible, whether it will be successful. These questions will make us feel frustrated or will prevent our efforts. Okay, so hoping that we can do some change. Okay, if not immediately in the long run, if not on all, at least on a few. Okay, we have to be hopeful. Okay, if we lose hope, if we lovers of literature lose hope, who else can? Okay,
okay,
encourage the students. I understand. Largely, the situation is not favorable, but
yes, sir.
there is no meaning in blaming the situation. What do we do to transform the situation? What do we do to change it? So that's our question. Okay, so
Okay,
within our limits, we can try to do something. That's what I say. I don't say that we can bring about a magical difference overnight, but
yes,
still
definitely.
we can do something meaningful.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Nice.
Really, it's the regretful situation.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking this.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Nice. Nice.
Sir, I'm Dinesh Babu from Adiman Polytechnic. I
Yes, sir.
have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, how communication skills impact teaching learning in a digital classroom?
Okay. Okay. So do you mean that in digital classroom communication does not take place? Okay. Ultimately, it is communication, right? Of course,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we rely morely on the gadgets. Okay, we rely more on precision, but we don't exploit our resource, right? When we resort to some gadgets, when we resort to artificial intelligence, we don't exploit our resource. Okay, somebody does it for us. So that I don't think we are communicating anything meaningful then. But unless we exploit our resources, unless we rely on our sources, nothing wrong in resorting to gadgets, nothing wrong in resorting to the into artificial intelligence and other technological developments. But at the same time, we should not fail to think that they are only add-ons. Okay, the keynote speaker, the principal made a reference. Teachers cannot be replaced by machines or devices. Something she made a comment, right? Technology is not to replace us. Technology is simply to assist us or enhance us. So uh, let us approach it with a sense of caution. Okay, let us not blindly fall and addict to technology. Let us use technology in a very clever way. Let us also make our students understand their responsibility to make use of technology in a very responsible and clever way so that their individuality remains as such without being carried away by the technological advancements. It's very risky. I understand the situation is very tricky and risky, but anyway, let's hope for the best.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone to ask any question? Shall we wind up the session now?
Dr. Armila Anthony, ma'am, are you there, ma'am?
Yes, she has raised her hand.
Dr. S. Armila Antony.
Miss Adelina Maria, you can ask a question. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions. The feedback link has been shared in the chat box. You kindly fill up the feedback as it is necessary for you for the attendance purpose and for issuing an e-certificate also. I have shared it already. Make use of it. Is there anyone is interested to ask questions to sir? Ms. Adelina, you can ask the question. Please unmute yourself.
Gayatri Mohan, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Okay, no issue. You can share the questions, okay, via mail or chat box. I'll be happy to respond to them, okay, when I find time.
Dear
So, sir-
participants, I will share the email ID of sir. You can discuss with him through mail. Over to Kalaik.
We cordially invite Mrs. N. Bhardi Priya, from lecturer in English from Dharmabad Polytechnic College for Women, to deliver vote of thanks. It's Bhardi Priya ma'am. Now you can take over the session.
Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself.
Dora, 5 minutes.
Is your voice audible, Kalaik?
No ma'am, your voice is not audible.
Is it audible
Ma'am,
now?
you can start now.
Respected dignitaries, esteemed speakers, dear colleagues and participants, on behalf of Government Polytechnic College, Kuduveli, and the organizing committee, it's my pleasant duty to propose a vote of thanks. First and foremost, I extend my sincere gratitude to our chief guest and keynote speaker, Dr. S. Karthik Kumar, Professor and Head of English Department, Annamala University, for gracing this occasion and sharing such insightful perspectives. Sir, your address reminded us that language is not just a tool, but a multifaceted phenomenon. As Roman Jakobson said, communication integrates 6 functions: referential, emotive, cognitive, phatic, metalingual, and poetic. We were able to see these dimensions come alive through your today's session. I also thank our distinguished resource person whose clarity and depth helped us reflect on how knowledge, when applied, becomes skill. You reminded us that context should not be reduced or neglected, and that we must help our students bridge the gulf between knowledge and its application. A special thanks to our principal, Mrs. Christina Mary. Mrs. Mary Christina, for the encouragement, leadership, and support that made this FDP possible. To the organizing committee and technical team, my heartfelt appreciation for your tireless behind-the-scene efforts. To all the participants, your active involvement and thoughtful engagement enriched the session. Together, we realized that psychological contact is often more important than physical contact, and the effective communication, whether referential, emotive, or phatic, lies at the heart of good teaching. Finally, I thank everyone who contributed directly or indirectly to the success of this FDP. Let's carry forward the knowledge that communication is not just about words, but about meaning, connection, and the integration of skills. So we assure you that we will definitely revive the glory of language teaching in our classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, one and all, for your patient listening. Thank you very much. And tomorrow by 6 o'clock, we'll be having another session by Dr. Kati Sharma from Purnima Institute to Rajasthan. I hope that you can come as early as possible, maybe like some 10 minutes before the session starts. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Thank you very much. I do posted this feedback link in the chat box. You kindly fill up the form also, and that is necessary for this attendance issuance and for the issuance of this e certificate also. Thank you very much.